What's up, Liron here, and today we're going to talk about productivity and schedule for artists. What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another episode of Business Monday. Today I want to do something that I find very interesting. I want to talk about schedule and productivity tips specifically for artists and the way I approach things. Now, the reason why this is interesting to me is because I go through a transition phase. I used to work one way and now I'm trying to shift gears and try to work a different way. So I'm going to talk a bit about what I've done so far, and then I'm going to talk about the new things that I want to incorporate, and I already started incorporating this month on June and starting from today basically. So first off, I want to context this in a way that'll make it a little clearer. For me, the main thing with being productive is I go a frame above that or a few frames above that, and that comes down to clarity, knowing what you want to achieve. So for me, my goals are very clear. They're very organized for 2018 in general, and then I have like a 5-year plan that is very loose. The reason why I do this is that it's very loose because I know there are many changes and many new things that pop up. You know, suddenly you discover that you take a lot of interest in something you didn't in the past, and on the other hand, something that you found that really satisfied you stops doing that. So you need to always optimize. But generally speaking, the main frame is of clarity, knowing what you want to achieve. Now, from that frame, I am able to cut out these yearly tasks. And from these yearly tasks, I'm able to cut out the monthly tasks. And from the monthly tasks, I cut out, you guessed it, the daily tasks. So the way I did it so far was I would, at the start of each month, or preferably the last few days of the previous month, I would sit down and write myself a monthly plan. So I'll have it arranged by different areas. So the different areas are like art and creation, and that's pure like painting and drawing. Then the communication with the audience, which is YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, all of those good things, Facebook. Then there's the business side of things, so more about the products I'm working on, the sales funnel, all of that good stuff. And then we have the more personal stuff, maybe even exercising and eating healthy and reading, you know, things that are off topic when it comes to business. Okay, so or to the work itself. And because I did turn art into my work, so I do consider it a part of my work, and I think I'm able to walk that tight balance of actually still enjoying it. Okay, so in any case, this is what I used to do so far, and then from that monthly sheet of tasks, I would cut out for each day the tasks, and I would prepare at the end of each day the tasks for tomorrow. Now here's the difference from what I used to do so far and what I'm going to try out now, and I want to encourage you to try both ways. So what I would do is I'd sit down at the end of each workday and I'll look at the monthly tasks, and from that I would write down a list of things I should do. And I would write everything, like I have to record a new video, to edit a new video, record a podcast, work on my course, record new content for the course, work on ClickFunnels, on the sales funnel, optimize it, work on Facebook ads, all of that, record outside, do composition practice, portrait painting practice, all these things. And I would make a list. Now, the good thing about it is with me, with physically writing, it really helps me, and having a list that I can just check off the different items really worked for me. This is an advice that I got from a friend on how to do this. He would take a monthly kind of a bucket list and then turn it into a daily list at the end of, I would take it the one step forward into a daily list. And he would write down, I would write down also the number of times I have to do everything. So it's like painting practice 5 times a week, and then I would just check off the boxes of the monthly tasks. It worked really well for me because I'm very goal oriented, so the moment I finish something, it's fun to check it off, and I have this list and I can just really work hard on finishing the list. Now here's the problem, and this is where schedule comes into play. These lists weren't anchored in any kind of schedule, so realistically I would write down 14 things to do and I would only finish 8 or 9 or 10 or 11. And it's not because I'm wasting time, and it's not because I'm not productive, it's because mainly things take longer than I would assume they would take. Okay, so what I would do is just put in a bunch of stuff and work really hard to finish everything. And sometimes I would, but many times I wouldn't, because it's not anchored in any kind of a schedule. Okay, and it's really the basics of being productive, having a schedule. But I think a bit arrogant as well, because I would think if I'm going to write it down, I'm going to do everything to get it done. But then realistically, you stretch it across an entire workday, and you figure out that you just don't have enough hours in the day, because recording a video or editing a video and that stuff takes like an hour and a half if I'm really fast. Then we've got the podcast, that's another, and you just stretch it out, you block it in, and you find out that you don't have time to finish everything, because your workday is 8, 10, 12, 14 hours at the extremes, and then the tasks themselves take at least 14, 15, 16 hours if you calculate how long they will take. So it's not a good way to see things really in the clearest way possible. So what I would do now, and this is the change that I've gone through in this month, I have two changes I'm going through. First off, I'm connecting and merging similar tasks even more than in the past. Okay, that's the first thing. I'm gonna dive deeper into that first. And then what I'm doing is actually using Google Calendar to schedule everything. And it's annoying because I schedule stuff and I'm like, if I would just write down a bucket list, I would finish more things. I feel it, like psychologically, that's what I think. And when I put it in a schedule, I can't fit any more things, which is annoying because I want to do more. But in any case, it just is a clearer way of seeing things. So I'm trying to adopt that. Now let's go over the first point I mentioned, and that is merging similar tasks. This is something I'm really big on. I talked about it a lot in the past here and other places. In the old blog that I used to have, now it's gone. I replaced it with new stuff. But in any case, merging similar tasks is one of the things that really helped me just finish more tasks in a shorter period of time. So for example, when I would write my books, and I mentioned this a few times, I remember, I would write down the whole thing. I wouldn't stop. I would write it all down. I would barely fix any typos or mistakes. And whenever I know I want to put a sketch or an example or an exercise, I would just write down a note. Insert exercise, all caps, and put it in brackets, okay? And this is how I knew this is where this comes. And I wouldn't stop to draw, I wouldn't stop to sketch, I wouldn't stop for anything. I would just keep going, writing, because it's the writing mindset. Then I would finish with that, and I would spend a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks just drawing everything. I would make a list out of all of the bracketed items, and then I would just draw them one by one, because now I'm in the art and creativity mentality. Then I would take all of the sketches and I would scan them in one by one, because why waste time walking to the scanner, scanning, going back, continuing? No reason to. So merging similar tasks is something I've been applying for a long time now. And in particular with the videos, what I do currently is I record all of my weekly videos in one day, except for the ones that you see outside that I record during the week, okay? But for all of the other ones, I really finish recording them on Sunday usually. And then I have all of the contents, and all throughout the week, I edit and schedule them on YouTube. But what I'm gonna do now is even more extreme. Sundays are just for video production. So what I'm gonna do is finish the whole scheduling of all 4 now videos a week. And it's gonna be interesting to see how that pans out, because what it means is I don't have to do any YouTube work during the week. Nothing, zero. So today I'm working on all 4 videos for this week, and they're all gonna be scheduled by the end of the day. And this entire week I can get rid of YouTube, get rid of it, and just the only thing I would do is maybe reply to comments. Now, the problem with that is that Sundays I will have less time to do things, so I'm hacking it. For example, the painting practice, record it, that's one of the weekly videos, okay? So I painted and recorded at the same time, get it? I'm trying to do as much as possible in that day, and merge as many tasks as possible. So let's say I need to do 3 portrait painting practices. So I will just schedule these to the days of the videos, and then I record it, and I've got a portrait painting video. Okay, so I'm really trying to hack it and make sure I'm doing things as quickly as possible. Any dead time of I'm going from someplace to another. If I'm not driving, I'm gonna reply to comments. Just making better use of time. So the podcasts, for example. Right now, what I do is I record the podcasts. I record the podcasts on Tuesdays usually, sometimes Wednesday, depending on the specific week. If I have a lot of things to do, then it may run 1 or 2 days late, which is fine. I'm not in the same place with YouTube in my podcast as I am in YouTube. In YouTube, it's really has to be well organized for me. The podcast is okay. It's like Tuesday, Wednesday kind of thing. But what I'm going to do this month is have one long session this week of doing all of the podcasts. So 4 podcasts a month, one day, and then I'll just do the scheduling at the time, because I can't schedule with the current system I use, I can't schedule a podcast. But in any case, so I'm going even more extreme, and I'm merging more similar tasks, and this really increases my productivity. The downside again is that Sundays are now completely blocked off. For example, Tuesday is going to be much busier this Tuesday, but the upside is I'm opening up all of this time in the next few weeks. Get it? And the reason why merging similar tasks work is there's a transition time where you lose time. For example, if I start to write, and then I start to paint, and then I start to work on the marketing, and then I start writing copy for the ads, and there is time that it takes you to get into the task. And making lots of transitions makes you lose that time, because every time you're transitioning, you miss some time. So if I'm in the recording mindset and I record all of my videos consecutively, I don't remember that word, but in any case, one after another, then I'm not losing the setup time of the camera and everything, all of that good stuff. I get it all in one go. Same thing for the podcasts. I already have the mic out. I already have my plan for the episodes. Bam, one session, I'm done with it. Okay, so these are the two main things I'm going to focus on this month. It's really hot today. So two things. The first is using actually the Google Calendar, actually using a calendar and a schedule, and not just a list of tasks. That's first. And second is extreme merging of tasks or similar tasks together. Phone calls is a good one. If you're making a lot of phone calls in your work, whatever it is you do, even if you work for a company or for yourself, these phone calls, you're in the talkative vibe. So just connect all of these, make like 5 phone calls one after another. You don't need to stop and then get into the technical mindset of writing and then get into the creative mindset of doing something else. Just do it all together. Now, there are some exceptions to that. I'm just gonna mention that really quickly near the end of this video. I just want to talk about the exceptions. And the exceptions are tasks you have to do every day on a regular basis. So for example, painting, that's exercise for me. That's something that I need to do on a regular basis. I'm not going to do 10 hours of painting one day and then I don't have to paint anymore this month. It doesn't work that way. So there are some things you need to do multiple times. You have no choice, and painting for me is one of them, and I enjoy it. I want to do it every single day. And the good news is that by merging all of the rest, I have more daily time to do that, okay? And I have more daily time to dive deeper into tasks that I find take 5 hours to get into. There are some things like this. For example, the marketing, when I'm working on optimizing for... Okay, when you sign up for one of my mailing lists, you actually sign up to get more information or learn new stuff from me. I have a follow-up of emails that are sent to you. There's like 4 or 5 follow-up emails that are automatic. And during that time, you don't get my periodic emails. Okay, you're excluded from it because you're in the transition into becoming a part of the mailing list. So when you do that, I want to now improve that follow-up. But it's been such a long time since I wrote it, so it's gonna take me so much time to get into the mindset of, the copywriting and the marketing kind of phrasing of things. Because I do want to sell more courses using that follow-up, but I also want to provide really good educational content. So this requires me to be really on top of things, the way I phrase things, the content I'm using, the exact pictures I'm using. These are things that if I'm going to just take 1.5 hours, 1.5 hour or 2 hours to work on, it's not enough. I do need that block of 4 or 5 hours to work on that, with maybe like a 10-minute break in between. But these are the things that don't come naturally to me, like the marketing. It doesn't necessarily come naturally to me as much as drawing or sketching. It takes me time to get into the zone, so I need like a 5-hour block. And the good news is, by merging similar tasks, you get that block, okay? So this is just one final thing I wanted to wrap up this video with. I really hope this is helpful to you and maybe gave you another perspective on how I approach things. The whole bucket list of things to do can work. It worked for me for the past 1.5 years. I've been really productive. I've been really on top of things and knowing how my productivity level is. Like, I actually give myself a grade at the end of each month. So May I got 81% productivity, which is a lot. I used to be on like 85, 87, then it dropped to 70 because there was a lot of uncertainty. Then I got my head back in the right place, and now I'm back to up to 80. So I really measure my my productivity by actually seeing how many things of the tasks that I wanted to finish, I do finish. So these all work, and I really hope you got something new out of this video. Let me know in the comment below what you think and what other topics you want me to cover. I do feel like this topic has or packs a lot of value that will help a lot of you. So I did want to share it with you, especially as artists. It's so challenging to pop in and out of that productive stage, because when you paint, you don't want to think about the next task. You want to think only about the painting. So allocating 4 hours may be a good idea instead of maybe 2 hours, So you want to make sure you've got that time to maneuver. Okay, so I hope this was helpful, and this is it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my podcast in the description box below and all of the other good stuff there I think you'll really enjoy. And I will see you again in another vid real soon.